where is the hard evidence to support that she actually either took him from school or that she actually murdered him? And furthermore, they've never found a body anywhere near where her car was on those particular days. For example, like if they can really trace the ping data from the cell phone towers to know exactly what roads she was driving on and to know exactly what parts of the county she was in, they have not recovered any sort of human remains or any clues linked to Kyron. And one of the things is, you have this sort of feeling where I, in your heart, I mean, I feel that she did it. I feel that she is guilty. But we can't go on feelings. We have to also go on the hard evidence. And the hard evidence is she was seen 15 minutes after his last sighting without Kyron in a grocery store. No remains of Kyron have ever been found, and the other fact is the school was open to adults who were not normally there. So there is this enormous possibility that somebody else who could have been anyone in the world entered the school, lured Kyron to their car, and just disappeared. This really has a very large sign of an abduction. And one theory that has been passed around is, yes, this was an abduction, and Terri Horman was behind it. She was the one who orchestrated it. She wasn't. I mean, if you watch the interviews with her, she's not the brightest bulb in the room, but she probably would have known that if she had lured her own stepson back to their car, somebody would have noticed, so she simply had somebody else do it. And again, that's pure speculation. That's just, one person's theory. If we're going to be examining the hard evidence, we have no definitive sighting of Kyron with Terri after they leave each other at the school, and by her own admission, she sees him at the end of a hallway going into his classroom. Therefore, I'm really promoting the theory now that he was abducted by someone who was not Terri Horman, and even as I say that, it's like I still have such conflicting feelings. It's like we're talking 51% outside abduction, 49% Terri Horman. But I'm pushed over the fence just a little because we don't have enough hard evidence to support that Terri Horman was involved in this. If she was, her tracks were covered pretty well. So imagine what could happen. Somebody who knows that adults are going to be roaming the schools, they know that this is a science fair day number 2 where parents are allowed to visit. This is sort of like the parents' science fair day, if you will. I mean, this is not rocket science, this is not brain surgery, it's a very simple thing. One person just shows up at the school amongst all the other parents, and they lure someone to their car. Keep in mind, the last sighting of Kyron that someone reports states that he was alone by himself at the south entrance. And Kyron would have been walking alone, and that would be a very vulnerable thing for someone walking alone by the entrance. That would be they probably viewed that as some sort of vulnerable behavior, and he was probably lured into a vehicle, and that person just disappeared. And they could go anywhere in the country from there. Do I think that we'll ever find Kyron Horman again? I don't really think so, and that's very sad. And his mother said, "I'll never stop looking for you," and that's just very sad indeed. However, I think looking at Terri Horman is almost putting people into the wrong direction, and it is very difficult. It's very difficult to know exactly what happened because we have, such little evidence, and there's almost no evidence really to support what was going on with Terri and Kyron together. However, some updates about Terri also come from Morgan Live, saying that Terri Horman, the stepmother of missing Kyron Horman, has moved south to California, so she has fled the state, in other words. And Horman, who investigators suspect played a role in their 7-year-old boy's sudden disappearance nearly 6 years ago, has returned the Oregon license plate to the DMV. And furthermore, she has also tried to change her name at least twice, but they denied her, actually. They denied her that request. And this is one case that received an enormous amount of media attention. Terri Horman and her friend Dee Dee Spicer, who was just, her friend, were swarmed by video cameras, almost like paparazzi. And there were so many local news bulletins about this story, and it's just monumental about how many people were focused on them and how much attention this case received in the local media. And Terri Horman also tried to get a stalking order against a woman who said that was harassing her and threatening her on social media at her court appearances. Terri Horman states that she has no knowledge where Kyron may be and has proclaimed her innocence of any wrongdoing to the law enforcement, as well as stating that she was not the last person to be seen with him, to which her attorney has stated in court. Now, if we are going to accept everything that has been put forth, she was not the last person to be seen with him. And if we are going to accept that that is a fact, then that is also something that is going against the theories that Terri Horman was involved, or that Terri Horman was not the abductor, and that Kyron was abducted by somebody else. He abducted perhaps by a sexual predator who knew that adults were going to be in the school and snatched him. And that is also very it's so heinous to even just say it out like that. And there are some very sick people in the world, and I really hope that Kyron did not meet such a tragic fate like that. But a 7-year-old boy goes missing from his own elementary school, and it's like, and he's never found again, not a single clue. And that is just the thing that I cannot escape when examining this case. It's like, if Kyron had been with Terri throughout the day and she had done something to him, there should have been more evidence. More clues should have turned up. I mean, we're talking about finding fibers in the car. We're talking about, a cup or something that had some of his DNA on it, found, like in the surrounding areas where she had been driving. We're talking about something of that nature. But none of that has been found, and also no clothing fragments have been found in the areas where Terri Horman was on those particular roads. He was not seen on any CCTV cameras. That tells me that he was not with Terri Horman that day. So, I mean, I don't really support the logic that Terri Horman would not have had time to do something, but the fact that we just don't have any evidence to support that she did. What we really would like to propose now is just that trying and formulate this theory that Terri Horman was not the abductor. Somebody else went into the Skyline Elementary School on June 4th, and they took a 7-year-old boy to their car, and if that person were to flee the state immediately, or just go to a far-off corner that no one's really going to know about, they would be able to do any number of things, and that would be very easy to hide the evidence. No one would ever really be looking for Kyron in these other places. All the attention's been on Dee Dee Spicer and Terri Horman, and there's been just this very, very large red herring and this very large dead end, and now people don't know what to do. And I really hope that we can reach some sort of closure for the family, that they can find out what happened to their son, and then they can find some peace in this world. If anybody has anything to contribute to the conversation, I would love to hear it. I would love to just hopefully expand the discussion a little more, and let's try and get some solid answers as to what happened.